The galactic world was a marvel of unity and diversity, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and shimmering bridges that connected thousands of species under one banner. It was a place where peace was the law, and war was a distant memory, until now. At the heart of this utopia was Commander Kale Draven, a human soldier who had risen through the ranks of the Galactic Defense Force. Kale was a man of quiet strength, his face scarred from battles fought long ago, his eyes carrying the weight of 1,000 sleepless nights. He had dedicated his life to protecting the galactic world, not because he believed in its ideals, but because he had nowhere else to go. Earth, his home, had been destroyed centuries ago in a cataclysmic war. Humanity had been scattered across the stars, their numbers dwindling, their legacy fading into obscurity. Kale was one of the last, a relic of a forgotten time. His days were spent patrolling the outer sectors, his nights haunted by memories of a world he could never return to. He had no family, no friends, only his duty. But even that felt hollow. The Galactic Council treated him with polite indifference, their gratitude for his service tinged with pity. One evening, as Kale stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Citadel, he received a transmission from an unknown source. The message was brief but chilling: DeathWorld is coming. Prepare for the end. DeathWorld. The name alone sent a shiver down his spine. It was a planet shrouded in myth, a place where the most ruthless warriors in the galaxy were forged. For centuries, DeathWorld had remained isolated, its inhabitants content to wage their wars in the shadows. But now, it seemed, they had set their sights on the galactic world. Kale's instincts screamed at him to sound the alarm, but he hesitated. The council had always dismissed his concerns, and he doubted they would take this seriously. Still, he couldn't ignore the warning. As he stared out at the stars, a sense of foreboding settled over him. The calm before the storm. The attack came without warning. One moment, the galactic world was bathed in the soft glow of its twin suns. The next, the sky was filled with DeathWorld's warships, sleek, black vessels that moved like shadows. They descended upon the city like a swarm of locusts, their weapons tearing through the defenses with terrifying efficiency. Kale sprang into action, rallying his troops and coordinating the evacuation. But it was chaos. The DeathWorld soldiers, clad in armor that seemed to absorb light, moved with inhuman precision. They were unlike anything Kale had ever faced, ruthless, relentless, and utterly devoid of mercy. Amid the carnage, Kale encountered their leader, a towering figure known only as Malachar. His voice was a low growl, his eyes glowing with a cold, predatory light. "You cannot stop us, human," Malachar sneered. "Your kind is weak. Your time is over." Kale fought with everything he had, but it wasn't enough. Malachar overpowered him, leaving him battered and broken on the ground. As Kale struggled to rise, he realized the truth: the galactic world was doomed. But then, something unexpected happened. A small group of soldiers appeared, their armor unfamiliar but their movements precise. They fought with a ferocity that matched DeathWorld's, driving Malachar and his forces back. Kale recognized their insignia, a simple, unadorned circle. It was the symbol of humanity. The human soldiers introduced themselves as the Last Legion, a secretive group that had been operating in the shadows for centuries. Their leader, a woman named Captain Alara Voss, explained that they had been monitoring DeathWorld's movements and had come to aid the galactic world. But not everyone was grateful. The Council, desperate to maintain control, viewed the Last Legion with suspicion. They accused Kale of conspiring with outsiders, of betraying the galactic world. "You brought them here," one council member spat. "This is your fault." Kale was torn. He wanted to trust Alara and her soldiers, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were hiding something. As the battle raged on, Kale and Alara worked together to devise a strategy. They discovered that DeathWorld's forces were being controlled by a central command ship, hidden deep within their fleet. If they could destroy it, they might stand a chance. But the mission was fraught with danger. The command ship was heavily guarded, and DeathWorld soldiers were growing more aggressive. Kale and Alara led a small team to infiltrate the ship, their every move fraught with tension. Along the way, Kale learned more about the Last Legion. They were not just soldiers, they were survivors, men and women who had lost everything and had nothing left to lose. Alara herself had lost her family in the war that destroyed Earth. "We fight not for glory," she told Kale, "but for the hope that one day, humanity will rise again." Her words resonated with him, but they also filled him with doubt. Could he trust her? Could he trust anyone? The mission took a devastating turn when they were ambushed by DeathWorld's elite forces. Kale watched in horror as his team was cut down, one by one. Alara was captured, leaving Kale alone and outnumbered. As he hid in the shadows, Kale felt a wave of despair wash over him. He had failed. Again. But then, a voice crackled over his comms. It was Alara. "Kale," she said, her voice strained but steady. "I've found the command ship's weakness. But you have to act fast." She transmitted the coordinates, and Kale realized what he had to do. The command ship's core was unstable. If he could overload it, the resulting explosion would cripple DeathWorld's fleet. But it was a suicide mission. Kale didn't hesitate. He fought his way to the core, his body battered and bleeding, his mind focused on one goal: to end this. As he reached the core, he encountered Malachar. The DeathWorld leader sneered, confident in his victory. "You're too late, human," Malachar said. "The Galactic World will fall, and there's nothing you can do to stop it." Kale smiled. "You're wrong." He activated the overload sequence, the core's energy surging as it prepared to explode. Malachar's eyes widened in shock, but it was too late. The explosion tore through the command ship, sending shockwaves rippling through DeathWorld's fleet. Kale's last thought was of Alara, and the hope she had given him. The Galactic World was saved, but at a great cost. Kale's sacrifice had turned the tide of the battle, and DeathWorld's forces were forced to retreat. Alara and the Last Legion were hailed as heroes, but they refused to stay. "Our fight is not over," Alara told the council. "There are others out there who need our help." As she prepared to leave, she visited Kale's memorial, a simple plaque in the Citadel's Hall of Heroes. She placed a single flower at its base, her eyes filled with tears. "You showed me that even in the darkest times, there is hope," she whispered. "Thank you." The Galactic Council, humbled by Kale's sacrifice, vowed to honor his memory by working to unite the galaxy. They reached out to the scattered remnants of humanity, offering them a place in the Galactic World. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of the stars, a new generation of humans rose, their hearts filled with the hope that one day, they would find a home. The final scene shows Alara standing on the bridge of her ship, the stars stretching out before her. She smiles, her voice soft but resolute. "For Kale," she says. "For humanity. For the future." The ship jumps to hyperspace, disappearing into the light.